What is happening, YouTube? Cowboy here. Welcome back to Code Vein, and today we're taking a look at a dexterity build. Now, dex builds are all about fast attacks and dodging and getting in and out of combat, but I wanted to do a build that still brought the same damage my other builds did, and today we have something that is disgusting. So, as a baseline, our regular unbuffed attacks are 873. We add in our sacrificial edge buff, and we're up to 1593. We add in overdrive, and we're up to 1811. And then we add in a weapon buff of our choice, and we're at 2173. Now you're probably looking at my health, which is rapidly draining in the left corner, and saying, how are you going to sustain this? And we're going to sustain it by working Cleansing Light into the build. If you use Cleansing Light along with Sacrificial Edge, we now have that nice buffed damage, and you'll notice our health is just barely ever so dribbling on down. And of course, we can just go for a drain attack with one of the passives we have to fill that back up at any given time. So to jump in and show how this ridiculous jank works, we are going to be running with the Hemdall blood code. Now you absolutely have to run the Hemdall blood code for this build because Sacrificial Edge is locked to the Hemdall code. If you don't have access to Hemdall, instead you could run Prometheus. And Prometheus isn't a bad blood code at all. I actually considered very heavily between running Prometheus or Hemdall, but the thing with Prometheus is even with comparative buffs, putting up Blade Dance, Overdrive, and a weapon buff, you'll see I'm only at 1399 to start, and I'm going to need a lot of attacks here. I'm going to need to go through an entire stamina bar, basically. And after going through all of that, I'm now doing comparable damage to what I was doing with Hemdall. And if you look, my Blade Dance build is already about to run out. The buff is falling on off, and once that buff falls off, I'm going to be back down to potato damage. Blade Dance is off. I'm back down to 1399, and I need to wait for that to come up and then rebuff it and then rebeat on something just to get that damage up. Whereas with Hemdall, that damage is just going to stay up. So, to that extent, I think Hemdall is going to be the better bet for a dexterity-oriented build. Moving on from there into our gear, just like we're using Jack's Code, we're also going to be using a sword, the Executioner. I suggest going for fortification on this. This has a scaling dex, and it is an excellent choice. Now, you can get more damage doing a fortified Hanamakuro. However, because of the Hanamakuro moveset, I would suggest using Executioner. Executioner has that nice, quick, spammy moveset that is great for dex builds, whereas a Hanamakuro has the slower katana moveset, especially that fourth attack. And that's going to be a big difference in the speed of our attacks, and since we have a lot of buffs that are going to increase our baseline damage, the more attacks we get out, the more damage. I still think Hanamakuro is going to be a decent choice as a secondary, and I have Devour on it just to help get Iker up in extended situations where I need it. As for our Blood Veil, once again, we are working with a Claw type. This is just the Dawnclaw version of Nightclaw. It just makes it red. All in all, just a very solid choice for dex builds. You have the A-scaling dex, you have pretty respectable stats. Very similar to, this is the exact one we used with the Bayonet build. And once again, similar to the Bayonet build, if you have the Venus Claw from pre-ordering, I would suggest swapping to that. We lose some dex scaling, but we gain a ton of drain attack. Our drain attacks are going up an extra 139, our drain rating is increasing, our gifts are increasing, and the defense isn't all that important here because this is going to be a dodge-oriented playstyle anyway. Moving into our passives, One-Handed Sword Mastery, kind of a no-brainer here. It's going to increase the damage of your attacks. Regenerative Drain. This is what is going to allow us to heal on up every time we do a drained attack, which is obviously going to work great because we're using Sacrificial Edge. Now, this passive is a little bit tricky because you're absolutely going to have a Vitality up to make this build work. Whether it's Mind Vitality up or Base Vitality up, you need one of those because, as you can see, it puts me up to C+ Vitality, and you need C+ Vitality to run Cleansing Light. For our final passive, I'd actually recommend Max Iker Boost. This is going to take us from 16 Iker up to a base of 20, which will allow us to cast both Cleansing Light and Sacrificial Edge immediately at the start of any encounter that we want those buffs on for. As for our abilities, obviously our mainstays here are going to be Cleansing Light to help counteract the health drain of Sacrificial Edge, which is going to greatly buff our potency. On top of that, if you have the Season Pass, I'd recommend working Gift Extension into the build, because it is going to take both of these buffs and make them last for 90 seconds, which is a quite significant amount of time. That's enough time that you can shred pretty much any boss. Moving on from there, weapon buff is going to be of your choice. Lightning, frost, blood, or flame. Just use whatever the target's weak to. And then, of course, overdrive, an excellent choice for a build style like this because you're going to be constantly dodging and you shouldn't be getting hit, making it a good go-to choice for some damage. Now, as for our 2 active abilities, I'd recommend Phantom Assault and Circulating Pulse. Circulating Pulse, just a very solid choice for a sword move. It weaves into your combo very easily, you know, you just boom, boom. It's flashy, it looks good. And then for Phantom Assault, the main reason for that is it's our gap closer. Phantom Assault is going to allow you to leap across and get on a target. The range is pretty good. Even from back here at the Mistle, you'll see that we get right on up there. And what's great about that is if a target charges at you and you dodge out of the way, you can use a Phantom Assault to quickly get back on them and keep that DPS up and going. Now, real fast before we jump into the depths, I'm going to cover where you get a couple things. As I mentioned, you're going to need Mind Vitality or just Vitality. You get Mind Vitality from Eos's tree. You get just straight Vitality from Camilla's tree. So either of those, this you get down in the depths, this you get through story progression. We're not actually using anything out of the Heimdall tree aside from Sacrificial Edge. A lot of this stuff is good, but I wouldn't really consider it even necessary. Severing Abyss has some nice damage, but it has a pretty big build-up on it, making it less than ideal, in my opinion, for a move to use. Besides that, over in Queenslayer is where we're going to be picking up both Circulating Pulse as well as Cleansing Light, 2 skills that I'd consider kind of core to this build. And then over in Prometheus, we're going to pick up our Phantom Assault. So that is going to wrap things up for this one. Let's jump down into the depths and show you what it can do. So as always, we are down in the depths to showcase the potential. As a reminder, this is also based around a level of 120 to give a more accurate perception of the damage you'll do. Just going to head on in and start beating some ass. We'll put this up in advance. I'm just going to drain a little bit off of enemies here. We'll heal on up. And a big thing is right now we don't even have our buffs active. The double buffs I usually won't even put up until we're actually at a boss fight. So the one up ahead, it's pretty much going to be deleted. So we'll go on and get those up real fast. Now those are on for the next 90 seconds, and this is going to just be silly. I'm guessing 2-3 hits. Wow, it took a whole 5 hits. That's impressive. I mean, I know these enemies aren't the best representation of how much damage you can do, but they're enough to just give you an idea of just how silly this can get. Now, if you're going into a boss fight and you don't have your extra Iker, obviously this is where having that passive, having max Iker boost is really going to help out, since we'll be able to get up our stuff just that much easier. So we will put on you, use an Iker concentrate. Let's put you up as well. And now we'll get up our main buffs. Alright, let's go. Yeah, it's pretty goofy. Like he He didn't even get to do like his face transition. We just booped him on dead. So anyway, all in all, pretty ridiculous the kind of damage you can do with the dexterity build. Like, to be honest, I did not expect it to be that strong when I initially started making it, and in reality, the combination of Cleansing Light and Sacrificial Edge is just disgusting with how much damage you can do. So thanks for coming on by to take a look at the build. In terms of what to expect next, there's a couple things in the works, but I really think I want to do kind of a Blade Mage style build, a spell sword or what have you. So probably a combination of both physical attacks as well as magic, because that was my most enjoyable style of play as I went through the game. So make sure to stay tuned for that, and I will catch you guys next time with more Code Vein.